It is a freezing cold, snowy, and windy January morning here in Pennsylvania. And when I see weather like this and I feel the temperature like this, the one thing I think of is soup. So today we're making my favorite, the kale and potato soup. I like to start my soup with 2 to 3 patties. I use Impossible or Beyond Beef, whatever dairy-free, plant-based patties you like. And then I'm also going to chop up a half of a large onion. I'm going to use about 3, 4 cloves of garlic, but you can use more of either of those, whichever you like. Once your aromatics are chopped and put to the side, then we're going to start thinking about what we're going to season it with, which is some black pepper. The star of the show is going to be some fennel seeds. We'll talk more about that later. But I'm also going to use some salt just to give it some other flavor, some garlic powder, of course, and some onion powder. There will be multiple layers in this soup, and this is our first one, the ground meat. So let's chop this up, make sure we get everything cooked thoroughly. You're going to see it'll start to brown on the bottom. If you have a pan that sticks, the meat sticks to it, that's fine too. We're going to get all that up because everything we cook is going to be in this one pan. This is a one-pot meal, and I like those. Not a lot of dirty dishes. Once you have thoroughly chopped it up and thoroughly cooked it, we're going to take it out so that we can work on the next layer. All the layers will come together a little later, but right now, let's start working on the second layer, which is the onions and garlic. So pop them right in the same pot. You don't need to add any other oil because there's oil in your plant-based burgers. So let's begin to cook that up. You're going to see whatever oil is on the bottom is going to be able to help soften and cook thoroughly into your onions and garlic, as well as, you're going to start browning it up. But let's season this layer as well with some of the same seasonings. As a matter of fact, all the same seasonings except the fennel seed. We're going to see those again later. So we have our garlic powder and our onion powder, a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, probably about 1 teaspoon a piece. Season it up and mix thoroughly and let it cook down. You'll see the onions begin to get translucent. Some things will start to brown up. You see that? That's after about 4 or 5 minutes of cooking with the seasoning and the oil all together. So your flavors are really beginning to come together. Now let's put layers 1 and 2 together. So we have our sausage or hamburger ground meat layer. We have our onion and garlic layer. Both of them are seasoned up separately. So mix those up. And now we can add the fennel seed. I added about 1.5 tablespoons of fennel seed into this mixture here, and you're gonna start to smell some real wonderful flavors. It's gonna smell like an Italian restaurant in there. Something about fennel is just so powerful. I did add a little bit more of your garlic powder and onion powder. It might look like it's salt, but it really isn't. I'm going for flavor. You're going to see that there's a lot of liquid that's going to be added to the soup. And if you have a lot of water, you got to flavor it or it's just going to taste like water. So that's why I'm really loading up on the flavor. I now added about 5 to 6 chopped cooked potatoes, although you can put raw potatoes in here. I just keep cooked potatoes on hand because I love potatoes. And then I put about 3 teaspoons of Better Than Bouillon paste. This is what I'm going to be using to make my broth. Okay, so to that I added about 5 or 6 cups of broth. Honestly, I just brought the water up to cover everything because I wanted to make sure I got the broth cooking. I wanted to make sure the water is flavored really, really well. So you're going to mix that up. This will allow your broth or your Better Than Bouillon to melt and incorporate, and then you're going to add an entire bag of kale. Now, I tried to go through the kale, and I took out most of the thicker ribs. I chopped it up as much as I could or ripped it apart because I want to be able to get a spoonful of everything and every bite. So I didn't want a huge clump of kale. So yes, I will chop it in little pieces, push it below the water, and you're going to see that it will wilt down pretty quickly. Let that cook for about 10 minutes and the kale is cooked. To be honest, the soup is done. It really is done, but we want to add a little something to the end of this. So just incorporate the kale into all that liquid. It's going to continue to absorb the flavors. And then I liked it a little more soupy. Plus, I had a lot of people to feed. So I had to add a little more water, add a little more Better Than Bouillon, or however you want to do your broth, and flavor that up as well. Once that one melts, the soup is pretty much done. Okay, you have as much soup as you want. You see the onions, you see the garlic, you see potatoes and kale. All the pieces have come together. One more thing I got to do is taste it. Always taste your food before you serve it. Make sure all the flavors are on point, that you have enough of everything. And for this particular soup, we added one last thing, and that is some red pepper flakes. This is just enough to give it some flavor, a little bit of a kick, but I didn't want the heat. I just wanted the flavor. Just brings out something in this soup. So I put in about a quarter teaspoon, put in as much as you'd like, and your soup is ready to be plated. When you're plating this up, every spoonful you get is going to have a little bit of everything. You can have a lot or a little broth, but I'm telling you, this soup is the answer in the winter. It's the answer any time of the year, honestly. It's nutritionally dense with all of that kale and onions and garlic. The potatoes and meat keep you full. It is delicious. Let me know if you make this soup in the comments below. Then be sure to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.